Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Down Them Country Roads. That's a working title. I don't know if that's what I'm going to call this. Basically, this is a series of videos I'm going to do where I show you around West Virginia. This morning, I am on my way from Kanawha County. So this trip will be from Kanawha County through Fayette County, into Greenbrier County, and then into Summers County. We're doing Route 60. I think the way that I'm going to do this one today is I believe you guys will see where I pick up Route 60 right there at Campbell's Creek outside of Charleston. I'm going to take Route 60 all the way up through Shillian, Smithers, Boomer, Gully Bridge, up Hawk's Nest. We're going to go that way. I've got my Tudor's biscuit. If you don't know, if you're watching this outside of West Virginia, you don't know what you're missing. I am currently eating the Peppy. The Peppy is a, see if you can see it here. The Peppy is a pepperoni and melted cheese biscuit. So that is what I'm eating for breakfast today. And let's get into it. All right, folks, I'm picking this up just a little bit early, just so you can see. Now, I am not saying that this is the beginning of Route 60. This is just where I'm picking up Route 60 today. So you'll see right up here, it's the split. Let me turn this camera just a little bit. All right. So right here, you'll see the sign that says Route 60 to Bell. This is, I believe they call it the Daniel Boone Parkway. Right behind me on the Kanawha Boulevard was the Daniel Boone. There's a park, there's a fishing dock, there's a boat, like a boat ramp. So this right here on the right is Tudor's. Typically you'll see a Tudor's and a Geno's together. I believe they're owned by the same parent company. That one is usually very busy. Like, it looks pretty busy this morning, but not as busy as usual. Up here to the left, when we get to the stoplight, this is Campbell's Creek. So if you take a left at this stoplight, it'll take you up into Campbell's Creek. One of the things, I don't know if you can see it on that, but one of the things, most of the bridges in West Virginia are named after not famous but heroic West Virginia veterans. Up here to the right is actually Malden and Rand. Now, if you're not familiar with West Virginia, Rand, West Virginia is where Randy Moss is from. I believe one of these signs, that was a veteran sign. I believe somewhere there's a sign here that talks about it. Randy Moss obviously being the NFL wide receiver. In my opinion, Randy's one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver to ever play football. And he is from this little town here on the right. When he was playing football, a lot of times he would announce his college, like, you know, on Monday Night Football or whatever, they would say, you know, Randy Moss, and they would say what school they went to. Randy a lot of times would say Rand University. Well, there is no such thing as Rand University. He went to DuPont High School. The building is still there, but DuPont High School is no longer a thing. I believe that it is, I think that it is a middle school now. Right here on the left is an Arbiter. This is relatively new in the last couple years. It's Appalachian Arbiter. I think it's how you pronounce it. That is actually a butcher house, a butcher shop. It's right next to Buzz Foods, and they actually butcher, like, I think they told my wife cattle, sheep, and pigs, I think, is all they do right now. That was opened in the middle of the big, you know what we had happen in 2020, because a lot of them had got shut down, and they opened their own there. Now, you guys, most of Route 60 is not a 4-lane. So if you're not familiar with this area, this part of Route 60 is a 4-lane. But before too long, it turns into a 2-lane. Now, it is about 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday. Today is Saturday, March 16th, as I'm filming this. And as you can see, it's quite foggy. I am going on a fishing trip, and I wanted to leave right at daylight to make this video for you guys. So right here to the right, that's DuPont High School. That's where Randy Moss played high school. Yeah, the sign says DuPont Middle School now. So apparently they turned it into a middle school. Back when I was a kid, and well, when Randy went to school down here, there was DuPont High School on this side of the river, and then there was East Bank High School on the other side of the river. And both of them had really good football teams. I believe they were quite bitter rivals, and then they consolidated the two schools and made Riverside High School. Riverside High School is up here on the right at what we call Quincy. Now, right here to the right, now you can't see it in the fog, but that's the locks. So what a lock is basically, it's kind of like a dam that goes across the river. So what they can do is they can control the height of the water. So like when a barge needs to come through, the barge pulls up, they will flood it, push the barge through, let it down, and that's how they can control the water flow. I think at one point, or maybe even still, they were used for like to produce hydroelectric water. But I'm not 100% sure if they still do that. Now the next thing you'll see, well, you probably can't see it in this fog. Maybe I'll have to remake this video another day. Right next to me is Union Carbide or DuPont Plant or whatever it goes by now. Dow Chemical, that's the big chemical plant. The sign there said Chemours, C-H-E-M-O-U-R-S. I don't know who actually owns it now. But if you had family that lived in the Canal Valley up until probably the 90s, chances are one of them worked here. And I believe the original name was Union Carbide, and then it was changed to DuPont. I've always known it as the DuPont plant. There's actual multiple of those type of chemical plants. There's one here, there's one South Charleston, and I'm trying to think, there's one somewhere else, but I can't remember. That's why the Canal Valley got the nickname Chemical Valley. There's even a band out of, like a musical band, a rock band, out of Point Pleasant that had a song called Chemical Valley. The band's name is Boba Flex, if anybody's wondering. So to the right is Bell. There's Bell City Hall. Now to the right here, I believe this used to be Walker Cat, like Walker Machinery, Cat Machinery. So there's still a sign up there. I don't think they do much there anymore. Well, now it says Boyd Cat, not Walker Cat, but cat as in caterpillar. Used to be really busy. There was always a lot of vehicles in the parking lot. They were always doing a lot of work. I don't know if it's been the downtick in the coal that has put them to where they're not as busy, but they're not as busy as they used to be. Now, if you see here, this is Witcher Creek. So see that sign that says Witcher Creek Road? There's an Exxon. There used to be a There was a drugstore right there, but it went out of business or shut down. And off to the left is the Witcher Baptist Church. My youngest actually goes to Sunday school, or not Sunday school, she goes to like a youth program on Sundays there at Witcher Baptist Church. They have some kind of glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt or something this weekend. This is the little community called Diamond, West Virginia. I've always just considered this part of Quincy, but it does have its own name called Diamond. Now, at this stoplight up here, we're not turning right, but if you turn right, that's what takes you down to Riverside High School. That takes you down to the Walmart. There used to be a really, really big farm out there, and then when Riverside High School come in, it cut up, it took most of the farm, and then the Walmart went in there, and there's a tractor supply over there too. Now, again, it's foggy, you can't see, but over to the right of me is what used to be the Quincy Shopping Center. It actually used to be pretty busy. It had a Magic Mart, it had a Kroger, it had, I mean, there was a pet store there. Now, I mean, the Kroger's gone, the Magic Mart's gone, the 84 Lumber is gone. It's a shell of its former self. There's the Shoney's is still there. Off to the left up this holler, there's a Dollar General, because there's one everywhere in West Virginia. I don't need to go this way, but I need to get around this truck. So if you stay in this left lane, it would take you up to go across the Shillian Bridge. That takes you across the river. You can either get on the interstate or go down through Shillian and get on Route 61. So 60 runs on this side of the river, 61's on that side of the river. Oh Lord, that's a big hole. When I was a little kid, the bridge was like right here somewhere. I can't remember exactly. They moved the bridge though over the years. They built a new one. Shillian Bridge used to be somewhere like right here. So here's where Route 60 turns to a 2-lane road. Speed limit through here is like 50. And this is where you'll start seeing, you know, West Virginia is an absolutely beautiful state. But there's some good and some bad, and you'll see some bad. I'm not going to try to hide it or edit it out. I'm not sure how many people will actually sit through these videos, because some of these videos are going to be pretty long, because I'm not going to edit stuff out. This is the little town of Shrewsbury. There's really not a whole lot here. Like there's an auto parts place or a auto repair place. This is the Mason-Dixon Line bar, and then there's a ATV parts place, a gas station. There used to be a really, I don't want to call it famous, but there used to be a restaurant up here. I can't even remember the name of it anymore. It was right here where these buildings are sitting. It was a restaurant there. It got tore down, and then the land sold. Or no, it wasn't there. It's up at the next white spot. My bad. I don't know if you can see some of this, but like right here, I mean, I know this isn't the only place it happens, but I mean, in West Virginia, you'll see really random trailers just sitting everywhere. So like there's a trailer park right there on the right. Right here, this wide spot on the right is where that restaurant was at. I think it was maybe Twin Hills. I think it was called Twin Hills. And I don't think, my entire life of coming up through here, I don't think I ever once ate there. All that property is for sale. I'd actually like to be able to buy all this. put like an RV spot back there. The only downside is most of the property's on the other side of the train tracks. I don't really like living next to train tracks. For the longest time, this stretch of road right here was in really, really, really bad shape. Like I'm talking, I mean, even you guys see now the way I'm driving, because I'm used to that area. You had to like go off the road basically. There was a huge hole in the road and they just kept trying to fill it in and it didn't work. It was pretty bad. So now we're getting into Cedar Grove. Cedar Grove is actually where I spent like the first 4 or 5 years of my life. This is where my mom is from. My mom grew up and lived in what's called Big Mountain, or we call it Big Mountain. Up here, there's a stoplight and you turn left up the holler. You know, just like most West Virginians in their backstory. My mom grew up a holler. Her dad and her grandpa and his dad before him were all coal miners. Let me slow down through here. Oh, because I didn't go across the bridge at Shillian, I forgot to bring up where we went to the Shillian Bridge. If you went across the bridge, that's the home of Jerry West, the NBA logo. So you can take it right there and go down into Cedar Grove, or obviously you can stay on Route 60. This is one of the larger communities along Route 60. As far as comparatively speaking, you know, it's not like Charleston size, but a lot of those little towns are, you know, 100 houses. So I think this is one of the bigger ones. So Kelly's Creek is what's called Big Mountain. If you turn left at this stoplight, you go up to Kelly's Creek, and that's where my mom grew up. So we lived here till I had already went to kindergarten pre-registration. I hadn't started yet, but I'd already went to like the orientation for kindergarten down in Cedar Grove, and then mom and dad split up and mom moved us to Virginia with my eventual stepdad. Spent 3 years there, and then we moved back to West Virginia in the winter of '88, so like December of 1988. For the longest time, this little building right here on the right growing up was a state police detachment. Now they make custom signs and stuff in there. Now also to the right was one of West Virginia's great power plants. You guys know I've told you, if you've watched my previous video, I'm not getting into politics here, but that one was a casualty of one of the political climates. They shut it down. But it was one of our larger power plants. This white spot on the right, typically every weekend during the summer, you'll see people set up on the road here doing like yard sale stuff. Now this little area we always called Riverside. I mean, obviously there's a river on the other side of this, but to the right was I can't remember if it was a dump or a junkyard. I know at one point there was a junkyard there, but the way it's covered up almost like it's like it was a dump. But I don't remember an actual trash dump there, but I do remember like the junkyard and recycling center. So that was like right here on the right. They would take like your scrap metal and that kind of stuff, but that's been since shut down. RJ's Recycling is what it was called. There's really not a whole lot to see up through here, unless you like looking at potholes. You can see where they've tried to patch it. the hill come down, and if you see the barricade there, the wall, that hill caved in and had the whole road shut down for a while. They had to go in and like dig it all out and put those what is that called? Not landscaping, but well, they had to put the wall in. I can't remember what the name of the walls are called. So right next to me, you can barely see it on the bottom right hand of the camera, is the Canal River. This little building on the right has been through all kinds of things. It was a car lot at one point. It was a pet store at one point. Right there on the left somewhere, I can't remember exactly where. My dad had a friend that lived there, and his name was Charlie Brown. And I always used to laugh because of the Peanuts, you know, the Sunday morning cartoon Peanuts. I believe this 4-lane here was put here so people could pass coal trucks. This is Hughes's Creek. I'm not exactly sure. There's a coal tipple back there, but I'm not exactly sure what. I can't remember much of what these buildings over here used to be. Up here on the left is one of the bigger cemeteries. I didn't mention it. This is London, so there's some locks here at London, but there's the big cemetery here, and then there was one back there at Glasgow, Cedar Grove, where a lot of my family's buried. There was a high school right there. That is now like a rundown community center. I don't think anybody even goes in there anymore. I could be wrong about that one. So I don't know if you saw that sign, but it's the London Locks is ahead. Here's a little barbecue place. It's called Dim Two Brothers. They started on the west side in Charleston, and now they have a couple of different places. Now right here to the right is the London Locks. Again, like I was telling you, the locks were kind of created to take care of the elevation of the water. The water is much higher on this side than it is on the bottom side, and boats have to go through, and then they'll raise the water or lower the water level within the lock itself to get the boats through. A lot of people really like fishing at the locks. They say it's some of the best fishing you can do. We're coming up here now on another coal tipple. You can see the lights. You can see this one's still running. I don't know if you'll see any coal pouring out today or anything like that. Right here on the left used to be like a little community park. Like they had some picnic tables and some slides and some swings and stuff like that. I don't know what happened. I don't know if somebody bought the property and just let it grow up or what. Now, you guys, I want you to pay attention to the green thing that goes across the road up there. So think about the going up across the road and then the building over there. I had a video that I posted last year. A deer had gotten on the left side of the road, had gotten up on the green thing, walked across the top, and was standing up on top of that tipple. And a guy coming along videoed it and found it. And apparently she couldn't get down. And I guess they ended up, the rumor, or what I was told, is she fell off, which is absolutely horrible. But somehow she climbed up on the left side of the road on top of that thing and walked up on the tipple. If you go to my Josh Scott Outdoors Facebook page, or specifically on YouTube, you can find the video. It's a short, you know, one of the little short vertical videos. Now we're coming up on Montgomery. Now I think Montgomery is bigger than Cedar Grove. So Montgomery probably is the biggest little town on Route 60. It used to be home of West Virginia Tech. this used to be a pretty important, like hearing the stories that my dad told, because this is where my dad's from. He grew up at what's called what used to be called Mount Carbon. You go across the bridge and go up the holler, and that's where my dad grew up. He went to Montgomery High School. Montgomery General Hospital is still over there, but WVU Tech is now gone. So at one point it was called West Virginia Tech. WVU bought it out, named it WVU Tech, and then they bought the college in Beckley and renamed it WVU Tech, and then they moved everything here up to Beckley. So Montgomery's basically a ghost town now. The college is gone, so there's just nothing left. This is the Montgomery Bridge that we just went under, and we're coming up on Smithers. Excuse me. So right here on the right used to be what was called Valley High School. Valley High School is no longer a thing. We are now entering Fayette County. The kids that are in high school now either have to go down the river to Riverside, or they have to go up the mountain to Oak Hill, which is absolutely crazy that they would make kids go all the way to Oak Hill, in my opinion. So here to the left, if you turn left at the stoplight, you go up what's called Cannleton Hollow Road. That's actually where Mount Olive Correctional Complex is at. That is the prison that replaced Moundsville. I worked up at Mount Olive for a year after I got out of the Marine Corps. Now we're actually in Smithers. Not a whole lot here anymore. There's a Christian bookstore that my wife's friends with the owner. It's a Pizza Hut. When I was a little kid, when I would come to see my dad on the weekends, he would bring me over here to Smithers, and there was a little video game rental it was a movie rental place, and he'd rent me video games, and I'd play on my Sega Genesis. So there's a Taco Bell here. There's a Tudor's Biscuit World. That Tudor's actually started out as a Wendy's. It closed down and become Tudor's. There's the world famous Burger Cart. My friend Nick, his family used to own it, and then they sold it. Up here is a BP station. I think it's a Parmar store. And then Grand Supermarket. Grand Supermarket used to be a Kroger. And I've heard everything's crazy expensive in there now. It's the only people here in this area either have to go here or go all the way to Shillian to Walmart, or they would have to go all the way to Fayetteville for Walmart in order to go to the grocery store. That's really their only options anymore, unless they want to go to like a Dollar General. You guys tell me down in the comments, how many Dollar General stores will I drive past today? That I know of. I know of at least, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I think I've already driven past 5 of them. But down in the comments, let me know how many do you think that I will drive past today. If you've got this far in the video, sounds like you're going to stick around with me, and I hope you appreciate these. As we do them, they'll get better. I want to show the good and the bad sides of West Virginia. So if you're hanging out and if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. So now we're coming up on the little community of Boomer, West Virginia. This is actually where my dad lives. There's a big Catholic church right here on the right. You see his parking lot, you see the Catholic church. And of course, yes, this road is rough. But my dad lives here. Not at the church, obviously. My dad moved here, I don't know, when I was like 17. Oh, I guess it gives you some context. I'll be 43 this year. So it was like 97, 98 time frame when Dad moved here. He just lived across the river, not far from where he grew up. But then he moved over here. So now this is what we call alloy. Alloy's got like the metallurgical plant. I tell you, late at night when they fire this furnace up, it makes some crazy looking lights. It looks like a satellite or like a UFO taking off. I've been down at my dad's house when they fired it up, and it just looks like a nuclear explosion in there or something. Doesn't sound that way, it just looks like it. Like the lights are super bright. But they do, I don't know, they make metal maybe or something. I don't know exactly what they do. But it's some kind of metallurgical plant. Metallurgical being, I think they make metal in there. This used to be called Valley Ambulance. Now it's General Ambulance. I've had several family members that used to work out there. They were EMTs and they drove the ambulance and stuff. So there's another big stretch right here. There's not a whole lot to see. We're getting into, this is Charlton Heights, I think. Not Charleston, but Charlton Heights. Also Falls View. Like, it's got a couple different names. But once you get past this stretch of road, then we'll get into like the Canal Falls, the Glen Ferris Inn, the Gauley River. It's where the Gauley and the New, so we're almost at that point. So yeah, this little community is called Falls View. It used to be a big school there on the left, and then it is a community center now too. If you watched my previous video, you guys, I told you it's that time of year, it's an election season, so you're going to see some signs along the roads. Obviously I'm not going to edit out every one of those. So if you see a sign you like, you can give it a thumbs up. If you see a sign you don't like, I guess you can hit it with a thumbs down. I hope you don't hit a thumbs down on my video. But I just want, I have nothing to do with that. I'm not making any kind of political message by you seeing signs in my videos. This is just, I'm trying to give you the brutal, transparent take of West Virginia. So you may see some Trump signs, you may see a few Biden signs. You may see signs cussing one or the other, but keep in mind, I'm not, these videos are not going to be, you're not going to hear either side from me. There's a time and a place for all that, and it's not in these videos. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, if you're hanging out here, I don't know how long this video is going to end up being. I know it's about, from the time I leave my house to the time I get to Rupert, which is not far from where I'm going to cut the video, it's about 2 hours. So this video might end up being 2 hours plus. Now right here on the right, now I know you can't see it here, obviously you can see the train tracks, and then you see the Canal River. This is where, right through here is where the Canal River starts getting a bit shallow. Like, boats don't come through here. All the barges and stuff start down there at Montgomery, or Alloy rather, and go down. They can't make it up this far. this is what I've always referred to, or what I've always been called the shoals. So the water is not real deep. They say it sometimes in the summer you can walk across the river here. Now it's been a really, really long time since I've seen the river that low to where I think you would be able to walk across it. Now I know up at Gully Bridge the water gets clear enough and the water level drops low enough that they say you can walk across it too. But if you know anything about clear water can be very deceiving, where it looks like it's only a foot deep and it's 8 foot deep. So don't use me as an example saying, well, Josh told me I could walk across the river. No, Josh didn't tell you that. I'm telling you that's what I've been told. I've never attempted it, and I don't know that it's true. So the bridge right here used to be what's called the Boonesboro Bridge. Across the road's Boonesboro Road. Basically, the bridge got in bad shape, and they just shut it down. Instead of fixing it, they said nope. So any of the people that live all the way up here, they have to drive all the way down to Montgomery and around if they want to go, or they can go down to Deepwater and go up the mountain all the way to Fayetteville. It's actually kind of ridiculous what they've done. So here's the Department of Highways building. They'll have salt and stuff there in the wintertime, and of course they've got gravel and those kind of things for patching potholes and that kind of stuff. Now right here on the right is your world famous, I say that jokingly, I mean they're pretty well known, right? But here on the right is the Kanawha Falls. If you check out I'm not 100% sure what YouTube, Facebook channel this will be uploaded to, but if you go watch Josh Scott Outdoors and subscribe there, you will see some fishing videos from Kanawha Falls this summer. So right here on the right is what's called the Glen Ferris Inn. This thing's pretty famous too. It's a hotel. They have a restaurant. They have, I think they have like a place where you can have like weddings in there and stuff. So all this is still the Kanawha River right here. I know you can't see how wide it is. I'm going to do eventually, I do a lot of traveling on Route 60. So it's not that hard for me to get out and make videos where I stop and get you some better shots, and I plan on doing that. That's not what this video is though. This video is just showing you what it's like driving up this country road, from Charleston all the way into almost Lewisburg. Where I'm going to end this video is, so I have to get off Route 60 at Sam Black Church and head to Alderson for my fishing trip. So this video will be right there where we started at, right outside of Charleston, all the way to Sam Black Church. And if you're not familiar with Sam Black Church, it's the name of the town there, right where you go through Raynell, you go through Rupert, and then you go into Sam Black Church, and then that's where you can get on the interstate and head to Lewisburg or Alderson. All right, now we're in Gully Bridge. I don't know if you know this, but Gully Bridge has been a speed trap most of my life. So if you do come through Gully Bridge, you want to make sure you're doing the speed limit. It's not quite the speed trap that Summersville was, but it is a speed trap. Right there on the left is a state police detachment. Typically the states or the city cops will be sitting up here at the gas station. So right here under this bridge, this is where the New River, so the New River's to your right, the Gully's to your left. It's where they meet and they form into the Kanawha River. I'll be fishing on the New River. Off to my right here, which you cannot see on camera, is the house sitting on the rock out there, and the 3 crosses on the rock. Funny, this Exxon used to sell like 100 octane. So back when I had my Mustang, I would stop in there and get 100 octane and put in it. I don't believe that they do anymore. So right up here is like the Gauley River campground. There's a little shopping center here too that used to be much bigger thing. I believe there was a Kroger, there was a Dollar General, Family Dollar. Now there's just Foodland and Family Dollar. I don't know what that New River Market is, but here's the campground to the right. So you can rent a spot, camp, swim. There's actually boat access now where you can put a boat in the water right here. All right, so now we are headed up. This is Route 60, obviously. Right here to my left, as soon as you go across these tracks, you see that wide spot. That is Cathedral Falls. Again, there's another video for another day to come and show the falls. But that is Cathedral Falls. This is what we call Hawk's Nest. We're not all the way to Hawk's Nest yet, but a lot of the guys in the car community really like driving their cars across this mountain. One of the things too that I meant to tell you guys, not that it matters, but if you're curious, right now, the first video and this video, we're in my truck. I have a 2012 Dodge Ram 2500 with the 6.7 turbo diesel Cummins engine, and that's what I'm filming in right now. Now, that doesn't matter, you know, for any purposes yet. In the summertime, once I get the transmission fixed in my car, we may be doing these videos in my car. I have a 2004 Dodge Neon SRT4. For you car guys, it's got a built motor with, you know, better rods, better pistons. It's got a big turbo on it. It's a 50 trim turbo, and it makes just shy of 500 horsepower. And it's a little 4-cylinder, 4-door, 5-speed car. But we either broke an axle or broke the transmission, and so it's been down for a bit. But it's really, really fun to come across this mountain in that too. I'm clearly not going to push this truck to its limits across this mountain. Now, I know the fog doesn't help with seeing stuff a whole lot, but I like it. Right here to the left used to be the Hawk's Nest golf course. I mean, the golf course is still there, but I believe it's owned now by several of the volunteer firefighters, or some kind of group like that owns it now because they do some firefighter training out there. The golf course is no longer open. But talking about the fog, I think it looks neat. Obviously, you can't see much off the road if there's fog. I wonder, well, you can see me turn on my lights, but they don't really help a whole lot. Right up here on the right, there's an overlook. Now again, we're not stopping today, and especially right now you can't see anything. But there's an overlook right here on the right where you can stop and look over down into the New River. It'd be a good time of year to do it because there's no leaves on the trees. However, you can't see 10 foot in front of you right now. I don't know how much you can see on camera, but along the roads, just like the other video, there is way too much trash along the roads. I wish people would just, I mean, basically what I do, if I have trash, I throw it in my floor, and then once I stop at a gas station or something, or I get home, I'll get a bag and I'll pick it up. I don't know why other people can't do that. There's no sense in throwing your trash out the window and making this beautiful state look awful. Now we're almost to the world famous Chimney Corner. You guys, I may or may not be exaggerating when I say world famous. I may be exaggerating a little bit. But like, well, for example, now we will not see it in this video, but one day I'm going to do a video where I'll take you all into Babcock, and Babcock is world famous for the grist mill. All right, here's Chimney Corner. It's a really, really sharp curve. It's basically a switchback. You're basically going the opposite direction that you were going a minute ago. Now there's a split right here. Left stays on Route 60, straight goes Route 16. Route 16 takes you up through Cotton Hill, Beckwith, and into Fayetteville. I'm not going that way. We're going Route 60. Right there's the Chimney Corner Cafe. It used to be called Did You Eat? What was it? It was the Did You Eat Yet Cafe? Or I can't remember. But it at one point I wanted to look into renting that place and opening it up, and just it never panned out. It's a seasonal thing, so you know you're losing money paying rent during the winter time because you can't use it. It's open, like it's an open environment. So like during the winter time people would be sitting in the snow. We are almost to Hawk's Nest and Anstead. This is even foggier than it was a minute ago. I couldn't even tell that guy was pulling a trailer till he was right up on me. One of the things that I always loved about traveling this road as a kid, so like I was telling you, my mom and dad split up when I was 5. So dad lived on one end of Fayette County, mom lived on the other end of Fayette County, and I lived with my mom, but we would go sometimes every weekend, sometimes every other weekend, and then several weeks in the summer we'd spend with dad. And I always loved springtime because traveling down this road, I always knew when springtime would be here, because down in the valley towards Charleston it would always get green faster than it would up here because the climate. I need to hold that thought. That was the mystery hole, you guys. That is world famous. That's the mystery hole. All these times I've been traveling this road, I've never been in there. Never once in my life have I been in the mystery hole. But anyways, what I was saying is Charleston would get greener a whole lot faster than it would up here on the mountain, and I just used to love it. I always used to know how it was springtime. Right here on the left, there used to be a rattlesnake pit there. The snake sign is still up, but I don't know what that building's used for anymore. But you could go in and pay and look down in that pit, and there was a bunch of rattlesnakes. People would like toss pennies and stuff in there, which is probably a terrible idea for the snakes anyways. But there was always a bunch of them down in there. I don't know if it'll be the next video, but I'd really like to take you guys on Route 19, like maybe from Beckley to Summersville. It's a 4-lane, but that may be something that people would be interested in seeing. What if you grew up here and you're gone now, and you'd see how much it's grown up. Fayetteville, I mean, there's along 19, there's entire shopping complexes now. Like where the Walmart's at Fayetteville. I know last time I was up there was a Walmart and a Lowe's, all the little stores like you expect around a Walmart, a bunch of food places, almost like a food court. All right, now we're at Hawks Nest State Park. Typically you would turn off here. You can walk out through there and you can go see the like the overlook. Here's the little gift center, gift shop, whatever you want to call it. And then further up here is the big one where you can like rent the tram to go down over the hill. I've done that once as a little kid and it's absolutely terrifying to me. I'm scared of heights. And that tram, it's basically like a big thing, like a big train in the sky, and it hangs from the top. It hangs from cables on the top. And when it goes over the pole, it makes this god-awful sound and it scares me to death. So now we're going into Anstead. Now Anstead is home of an NFL player too. His name was Tom Pridemore. Tom Pridemore played at WVU and he played for the Atlanta Falcons. I think at one point he had the record for, I think maybe an interception return for a touchdown in the NFL. He was much, much older than me, but I've heard stories from some of my elders about playing football against him in junior high and high school, and they said he was just something else. I played football against his. I don't know if they were nephews or grandsons or sons or what they were, but I know I played football against some Pridemores. I went to Meta Bridge and they all went to Midland Trail. Unfortunately, you can't see much. When you get up in this part of Fayette County, I mean, I'm partial because I grew up here, but I love this part of the state. From Fayette County on into Greenbrier County. I really, really like Jackson County too, which that's a different direction. That'll be a video for another day. So this white spot to the left, there used to be a Dairy Queen there, and they were only open during the summertime. So like when the rafters would start coming in to raft the New River, they would open. They closed it down. I think it was another casualty of 2020. That used to be a pizza place right there on the right. But not only did they close the Dairy Queen down, but they tore it down. Up here on the left, again, is another Tudor's and Geno's. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on this video, just with the fog and stuff. But off to my left, there's a I want to say, I can't remember all the details to it, but I think it's an old Civil War house. Right there to the left, yeah, you can't see it on camera. Just a gigantic, beautiful, beautiful house that they redone a couple years ago. So this is actually the town of Anstead. I believe my aunt runs that Subway right there. Like, I know she works there. I think she's the manager. She's all the time posting on Facebook that they're looking to hire. Bunch of little small places. I like little towns like this, but I wish some way there was a way to revitalize them. I think they've got ice cream and stuff there. It says drive-in, but what I was saying is I wish we had a way to just revitalize some of these little communities. Down over the hill to the right is the Anstead roller rink. You can still go roller skating down there. We're almost an hour in, folks. If you're still watching, I greatly appreciate you. I want to figure out a better way to do the camera. Right now it's just mounted on like a GoPro mount. I want to get it mounted up a little bit higher so you can see a little better, but every time I mount it to my windshield, it wants to fall off after I film for about 5 minutes. So I got to get a better mount system. So the next little community here, once you leave, I still consider all this Anstead, but it's not. You're actually entering the little town of Hopewell. Or no, I'm sorry. This is Victor. From Victor, then you go into Hopewell. And I always found it funny because when I lived in Virginia for those couple years I told you about when I was a little kid, we lived in the town of Hopewell outside of Richmond, Virginia. So this is one end of Saturday Road. Saturday Road's a pretty, again, not famous or not world famous, but a pretty well-known road that runs through Fayette County. It starts here, and I think it ends like up near Route 19. So we're going to go across Route 19, but we're not going to go down Route 19. It's not on my way. This is where I think it kind of opens up and gets a little bit pretty, because a lot of this, and again, you can't see it in the fog, but on both sides of the road there's fields and not just mountains, so like a little bit of pasture and stuff for animals. I have an aunt that lives up here on the right, and she has some big fields, big property. I like that. I like the woods, but I also like to have a little bit of like pasture. in my eyes. Coming up here now. This used to be, I think, a food land too for a long time, and then it got bought out and it's now a Piggly Wiggly. So there's a little place there. My mom worked there when it was still a food land. Her and my stepdad worked in the deli, and then they also did the catering for one or two of the rafting companies. I think the way that worked out is I think the same guy that owned the food land, either he owned the rafting company or he had a brother that owned the rafting company. So they also catered the rafting trips. So like they would make the food and stuff for the rafting trips, and then they would go down and cook steaks and burgers and stuff when the trip was over. Here's where Saturday Road ends at, right here. That's a Stringtown. It ends somewhere right here. I'm sorry. I was thinking that was Saturday Road, but there's that Stringtown Road. Maybe it's further up here on the left. I can't remember. I've only been out Saturday Road once or twice. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen deer yet. Typically early mornings and late evenings, Route 60 is just absolutely covered with deer. Yeah, maybe right here's where Saturday Road ends. Yeah, I'm sorry. So Saturday Road ends right there. Right up there on the top of the hill is just an Exxon or a Sunoco. Those Sunocos have Godfather's Pizza. And I always love Godfather's Pizza. It's the little personal pizzas. So we're crossing right now. If you go left, that's north to Summersville. If you go right, that's the Fayetteville. That's where the New River Gorge Bridge is at. So this is actually called Hyco. So you go out of Hansted into Victor into Hopewell and then into Hyco. So it says Raynell's only 20 miles, but it's like another good 45 minutes from where we're at. So Babcock State Park is only 13 miles, and then Camp Washington Carver is only 13 miles. I'll tell you a funny story about Camp Washington Carver. When I was a kid, they always would do what was it called, Mountaineer Days, or they'd have a celebration out there. It would last for a couple days, and what they would do is they would have things like music. They would have contests, like they had what's called cow chip bingo, where they would take a piece of ground and they would fence it off and put a cow in it. And they would put grids on the ground, and you would buy a spot, buy one of those grids. So basically, like, they would take flour or paint and grid it out. And if that cow pooped in your grid, you won a prize. I think the grand prize was the cow. And then they also had what was called grease pig contests. So what they would do is they had a big corral that they would spray down with water, make it real muddy. They would take these pigs and put Crisco on the pigs, and then it was timed, and you had to go and catch these pigs. You had to grab the pig, hold it up, and whoever had the fastest time won. And every year, one of us in our family won. My sister won one year. Now, my sister was much younger than me and much smaller than me. She always had to catch like the little tiny piglets. And then I would have to, I was older than her. We would have to chase the bigger ones. So either my sister or me or my brother would always win. And what you won the pig. And then, you know, they'd have music and that kind of stuff. They may have had some carnival rides too, but I don't remember specifically carnival rides. I remember there was some other stuff, but I can't remember exactly what it was. It's been so long ago. I always used to love this straight stretch right here. I had a little 4-cylinder turbo car back in the day too that was fast, and I would bring it down through here, and let's say that I would exceed the speed limit. These are some properties here too that I've always really enjoyed. Just they have their own pond, pasture, nice little house. So now we're at Lookout, West Virginia. Sam's Market up here used to be a grocery store. There was one here and there was one in Ansted. It's been closed for, oh man, I don't know, 20 years maybe. Up here on the right, there's a road you can turn out. I can't remember the name of it. We'll see it here in just a second. It's right here next to the feed store. There's a Southern States feed store right there. Edmond Road. You can take that road out through the back roads and get back to the New River Gorge Bridge. My older sister used to work at one of the rafting companies, and I would take her to work, and we would come down here and turn out that way instead of going down Route 19. Maybe the fog's cleared. It's currently 8:42 on Saturday, March 16th. My truck says it's 39 degrees outside. I'm headed for a camping trip, fishing and camping. Right up here on the left, that building you can see, that was always a biker bar. I don't know that so much it's a bar now, but it was a Brothers of the Wheels. So it was a biker gang where they would meet. I think it was a bar, or it may have just been their lounge type deal, or their meeting place. I don't know what it is now. The signs are gone. Now up here on the right used to be what was called Nuttall Middle School. So the kids around here would go to Nuttall for middle school, and then they would go to Midland Trail back at Hico for high school. It's been closed as a middle school for years. I don't even know what they do with it now. There's another Dollar General on my left. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna slow down back off this car a little bit. Camera is very, very deceiving. You can't tell. I was much closer to it than the camera looked, so I need to back off of him. Here's another one of the Sunoco stations. I think they're all owned by Parmar now. Yeah, this one's called Mountaineer Mart, and it says it's a Parmar store. Parmar, I don't know much about them. I know that they've been buying up a bunch of gas stations. And that pizza that I was talking about was not Godfather's, it was Hunt's Brothers. I'm sorry. Hunt's Brothers pizza was always my favorite. Not a favorite, but as far as when you're traveling. So when I'd go into any of those gas stations that had Hunt's Brothers pizza, if I was hungry, that's what I'd eat. Now we're getting close to my old stomping grounds. So I grew up, as I've said, in Fayette County. We got our mail in Danese. But I went to Meta Bridge, and our house wasn't really in either one of them. Our house was really in between Dane East and Meta Bridge. Typically, when someone asks where I'm from, I tell them Meta Bridge, because Meta Bridge High School is there. It's been there for forever, longer than I've been alive, and it'll be there longer. That's the one school that has really fought against consolidation, because it's in the middle of nowhere. There's no easy where for those kids to go to. So they actually just got a new school built last year. So when I talk about where I'm from, I always just say Meta Bridge. Which I'll tell you something funny that came to me the other day. So we moved to Meta Bridge, Dane East area in 1988. And you might as well say I moved away in 1999. That's not exactly accurate. I graduated from Meta Bridge High School in 1999, and then I went away for a year or two to work. So like I went to Tennessee for a while, I was in Ohio for a little while, I was in, I think that's it. I think it's the only other two states I was in. But then in January of 2001, I went into the Marine Corps. So our address was still listed as my home of record, but from January 2001 to January 2005, I lived in North Carolina. When I got out of the Marine Corps in January of 2005, I was married to my first wife, and we came home and went and stayed with my mom for a bit. You know, brand new out of the service, didn't have a job. My wife at the time didn't have a job. So, you know, because we had just moved, we just moved home from another state. So I moved back home for a couple months, or it might not even been a couple months, but we ended up moving to Oak Hill. We were there for a little bit. Ended up going through a divorce. I moved to Montgomery and stayed with my dad for a little bit. Then I got an apartment in Golly Bridge. And then I was going back to college, staying with my dad, and met my now wife, and I met her in 2008. We got married later that year, and we've been together ever since. So I've lived in Charleston since 2008. So what's funny is I say that I'm from Meta Bridge, but I've lived in Charleston now for 16 years. So I've been in Charleston longer than I was ever in Meta Bridge, but I still claim Meta Bridge as my hometown. So I don't know, maybe you guys have a similar story to where you claim something as your hometown even though you've been gone longer than you were ever there. That's mine. So what we're coming up on here in just a second, there's a split. So we're going to stay on Route 60 because the whole point of this video today is Route 60. But Route 60 turns into, I think it's 41. We'll look. I think it's 41. Or no, maybe it's Route 20. I can't remember. We'll figure it out in just a second. But if you turn up here, that's how you would go to Dane East, Meta Bridge, Babcock, and all that stuff. We're not doing that today. But I'll at least show you. I'll point it out. Now, I don't know how many of y'all grew up in the 90s, but this gives me some Final Destination vibes right there. I got to back way off of that truck. I'm not trying to have that log come flying through my windshield. Alright, so if you turn right here, so yeah, I was right, it's 41. So if you turn right, that takes you towards Clifftop. That takes you towards Babcock, Camp Washington Carver, Dane East, Meta Bridge. And then from Meta Bridge, you can go on down into Summers County, where that is actually where I'm going, but I have to go meet some friends first. So we're 25 miles away from Sam Black Church. That's where our video is going to end, is Sam Black Church. I really would like to get around this truck, but I don't know if there's any wide spots. Growing up, I typically didn't travel this part of Route 60 very much. So from 41 all the way up to Sewell Mountain, I didn't really travel this way. I've done it. I know it. I've traveled more as an adult trying to get back and forth to Rupert and Raynell from Charleston, but I never drove that way too much growing up. The first wide spot I get to, I am going around this truck. We're at 20 mile an hour currently. So this little place is called Hilton Village. Dave's Sanitation. That's the, I know growing up that was who always would come and pick up our trash, was Dave's Sanitation. Either we'd burn it, they'd pick it up, or we'd stack it up and then haul it off to the dump once a month. That is not enough of a passing zone. I was up on it before I even seen it, and I can't even get around him because it was... Oh boy. Go. Thank you for your hard work, buddy, but I'm not trying to follow you all the way to Raynell. I try not to get too excited. I mean, he's doing his job, right? I mean, it's a Saturday. I've got the luxury of being off. He's working. I'm not going to get mad at him because his truck's slow, because he's hauling a huge load. He's got a job to do. I think a lot more people should have that perspective. Although I'm not saying I don't get upset getting behind slow people, but I really do try to think that, you know, everybody has a situation and I don't know what it is, especially somebody working. I know one of the funny things, like if I'm in a like Walmart or Kroger or something, if I'm you know, going down an aisle and somebody needs through that's a worker, you know, I'll always stop and say, hey, no, you go first. And in my head, and I'm not saying this to say that I'm better than anybody. I'm just saying that I've been that person. And if I'm at the store, I'm typically not in that big a hurry. And I think it's right for them to let them get their job done, even if it inconveniences me for a few seconds, rather than me inconvenience them when they're just trying to get a job done to help other customers. So I tend to stay out of their way and let them go first, you know, that kind of stuff. Now, there is a spot, we're not there yet. We still got a little ways to go, but I'll show you. I can't show you from the road. I can show you where you go, but there's what's called Lee's Tree. So there is a tree there that during the Civil War, Robert E. Lee had a famous horse that he named Traveler. It was bought, I think, in Greenbrier County. I can't remember exactly where the horse was bought from. I remember something here recently being posted on Facebook about where Lee's where Traveler came from, somewhere here in West Virginia. Anyways, so you know, they rode horses during the Civil War, and there's a tree up here that's famous because they say that's where Lee would hitch his horse at. So it's called Lee's Tree, and it's I want to say somebody told me something happened in the tree, it fell down or something. But when I was a kid, you could go up and you could see the tree, and like they had a fence around it, like a small fence, so you didn't go messing with the tree. And there was a sign up and that kind of stuff. But I'll point that out when we get there. We're not quite there, but we're getting close. Guys, I'm sorry about yawning. I always love these woods through here. A lot of it, I don't know, you can't really tell on camera, maybe you can, right at the edge of the woods, a lot of it got clear cut. If you're not familiar, clear cut, what they'll do is it's exactly like it sounds. They'll come out and clear it out, just cut it all clear. And then they leave the tops of the trees and stuff. It makes a big mess, but it actually ends up, the deer really like it. It gives them cover where they can get in and hide. It gives them browse that they can eat on. Deer really love leaves. So they like to eat the leaves off of trees and stuff like that. So it's really good for them to get in there and eat that kind of stuff. Guys, we're not real far away from Lewisburg, or I'm sorry, not Lewisburg. We're still a good ways away from Lewisburg. We're not real far away from Rainelle. There's not a whole lot in Rainelle, but Rainelle is kind of like, again, not my hometown because I didn't grow up in Rainelle, but that was the closest quote-unquote city to where I grew up. You know, if we wanted to go to McDonald's, we had to come over to Rainelle, which we didn't eat much fast food growing up. And maybe that's why I eat so much of it now. It's because I didn't really, I don't know. That's a conversation for another video. But that's where we would go to town. Go to town really. There was a small movie theater. It only had 2 screens, so only 2 movies would be playing. There was a Kroger there. There was a Foodland there. It was a Magic Mart when it closed, but prior to that, it was a store called AIDS, like AIDS. And it was funny because not a lot of people outside of West Virginia knew what an AIDS was. And when I would say AIDS, they wouldn't believe me. They thought I was talking about like the blood disorder, blood disease. But yeah, there was an AIDS and all that stuff. Now this road right here, Glade Creek Road, that actually cuts all the way across back into Dane East. It's quite a trip, but you can go that way and go all the way back to Dane East. But anyways, on about Rainelle, there's a Dairy Queen there. What else? Well, there's stuff there now that, you know, wasn't when I was a kid, and there was stuff when I was a kid that's not there now, but you get the point. But Rainelle was like the biggest, like I said, quote unquote city to us. So we'd come over here for the feed store, that kind of stuff. So I spent a lot of time in Rainelle. And we're getting very close. Because we're almost to Loops Road, and Loops Road is actually ran down past my home place. We could see Loops Road from our house. All of this is called Sewell Mountain, S-E-W-E-L-L. I think that once we get up here, you'll see some signs that say Sewell Mountain. So if I'm not mistaken, right, this hill on the left, I think the road is up here. Yeah, right up here on the left is where Lee's tree was at. I think there, yeah, so there's a road right here. You turn up that road, and I can't remember exactly how far, it's not very far, but you turn up that road, Cavendish Road, and that's where Lee's tree is at. There's a sign right there, one of the white historical signs that tells you a little bit about it. And he would hitch his horse there. So right here is Loops Road. So at the end of Loops Road is the Loops Road Holiness Church that my stepdad's family has been the preachers at all my life. Here's Big Sewell Baptist Church. Tell you guys, let me know in the comments. I would really, really like to go through one day and photograph as many churches as well, not one day, it would take many days, but I'd like to go and start photographing the churches in West Virginia. Down in the comments, let me know if that's something you'd want to see. The way it would work is I would go to the church, we'd actually do a little bit of a video, and then take still photos. And you couldn't see it on camera, but that field back here did have a couple deer in it. I told you I was surprised we hadn't seen any yet. But there were some right there. It's the first ones I've seen this morning. Now, I want to tell you something funny. If you've seen the movie Joe Dirt, you'll know what I'm talking about. Here in a second, there's a wide spot where you can overlook the town of Raynell. Now, it looks really cool at night because it's lit up. And there's a scene in Joe Dirt when he goes into that town of Silvertown, and like you can see it from up above. And every time I come down through here, I cannot help but think of Joe Dirt and that Raynell's like his Silvertown. It's not right here. I can't remember. I don't think you're gonna be able to see it on camera. Trying to look and see. We're not far outside of Raynell now. So right there, right straight ahead through the trees. But I was thinking there's a better view of it. Or maybe I've just seen it better in the dark. And there's a bunch of fog too, so you can't see. No, it's the one up here. Okay. It's right up here. So right here where the trees are cut, you can look over. One of these days I'm gonna take a, oh man, they've cut a bunch of trees. So that looks really nice. So yeah, you can see that, and it reminds me of that scene from Joe Dirt. I know that's funny and ridiculous, but anyways. There's a golf course down here. I had a English teacher who was also the men's basketball coach, and it's my understanding that when he wasn't doing those two things, he was on the golf course. I don't know much about golf. Like I know what it is. I've played like once or twice, but I was terrible at it, and it's not something I wanted to learn. But it's the, so now here's Greenbrier County. What is it? It's the Greenbrier Hills. There you go. So Greenbrier Hills Golf and Tennis. Couldn't remember the name of it. So we just entered Greenbrier County. We just entered Raynell. Raynell is home of Raynell Christian Academy. So the speed limit is 35. Rainell's a pretty big little town too. It stretches for quite a ways as far as city limits. Tell you a funny story. So right here is Rainell Elementary School. I believe on the left is also Rainell Medical Center. There used to be a sewing factory over here to where like they made stuff. Right there on the left on the hill is Rainell Medical Center. But they made there was some kind of sewing factory where they made items. Over here on the right is the little sporting goods, the Park Center Sporting Goods. There's a Kroger still there. On the left is Dollar General, Advance Auto. This is where the Magic Mart, where it used to be. Right there on the left, there used to be a Food Land sitting right there. Over there to the right used to be where the movie theater is at, and I don't know what it is now. It's got a sign on the front, but I can't read it. Anyways, funny story. So when I was in school, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade were still considered junior high. So we were the junior high football team. In my 9th grade year, we were quite large as far as the average. Like, our offensive line was as big as most varsity offensive lines. We were one of the bigger classes to come through Meadowbridge in a while. And so we played 8 games. We won all of our single A games. The only games we lost were to AA or AAA schools. They had more kids than us, they had more athletes. We lost to Richwood, we lost to Shady Springs, and we lost to Greenbrier East. Well, Rainell was one of those schools that was single A. That was our closest, I don't want to call it a rival, but they weren't that far away. And we had Rainell beat like 38-0 in the first quarter. And the joke was that there was a couple games that we had won. The joke was that if we went up by 40, coach took the starters out and would put the backups in. And we almost were done playing in the first quarter. I think we played 2 minutes into the second quarter, and then he pulled us for the rest of the game. I mean, we were beating up on them really bad. I know that has nothing to do with anything. I want to tell you guys a funny story. It's the big old town of Rainell. Up here is the City National Bank. Girl I dated all through high school, her mom worked at the bank for years. This bank, I don't know if she still does or not. That's where I had my first checking account, my first loan. I bought a car, came through there. There used to be several car dealerships up through here, like brand new cars. Just the downturn in the economy and everything else. Not recent, but over the decades, they've ended. I mean, there's at least a good sign. You see some coal. Now, I'll tell you guys, if you watch my videos, I'm not 100% coal is king. I'm not that guy. I think it's a part of what can be done with West Virginia. I think that it shouldn't be ignored. I would love to see us get to a place to where somebody bought up a bunch of old strip mines, turn it into a solar farm, and powers all of West Virginia off the sun. I just don't believe the technology exists to do that yet, at least not completely. I think we're really close, and I would like to do that, but not at the detriment of prices going skyrocketing because people are refusing to use coal. I think there's a balance between the two, but I like seeing it because that makes me know that there's people working. What's wild about myself is I'm very much an introvert. However, when you put me in a situation where I have to be an extrovert, I can be. I'm not going to get into what I do for a living, but my day job is I do talk to customers. over the phone every single day. I don't call myself an expert at what I do. The people that I work for say that I'm an expert at what I do. But I have the gift of gab. I just don't like that I have the gift of gab, if that makes any sense. I would prefer to be talking to you guys through a screen like this, or via Twitter or via Facebook, than talking face to face. Now, having said all that, you know, I joke that I don't like the general public. That's not completely true. I say that because in my function as my day job, I deal with some really, really, really tough customers, right? And in the type of job that I do, you never hear the good stuff. You only hear the bad stuff. If you guys haven't figured it out yet, I do some customer service and sales for a company, and I do handle billing questions. I do sell products, and it can get a bit stressful. And because I've done that for 14 years, it's really, really give me a bad view of the general public. And I know not every, you know, we can't judge everybody. You can't judge everybody off of a few, is what I was trying to say. Well, I care, like we're talking about the coal. When I see coal moving, that lets me know that we've got coal miners that are working. My dad was a coal miner. His dad was a coal miner. His dad before him was a coal miner. So I like to know that people of West Virginia are working. Right now we're going through Charmco. So right here, you can turn left and go back across the mountain to Richwood. Or right up here, you can turn and go to Greenbrier West High School. So there used to be a Tasty Freeze there where you could get ice cream, but you turn up that road there, that's Greenbrier West High School. Any of my WVU fans that are watching this video, Greenbrier West High School is where the Runaway Beer Truck coaches. I believe his day job, he works for UPS now, but he also coaches football for Greenbrier West High School. So big shout out to Big Owen Schmidt, and the Runaway Beer Truck. So off to my right, and you can't really see it on camera, you might catch a glimpse of it in some of these turns, is the Meadow River. I'm talking like I'm from this place. I mean, I am, but I say Meadow River. The Meadow River. And apparently there's really good muskie fishing in there. That's one of the things I hope that we get on today is some muskie. But we are not fishing the Meadow River. We are going to be fishing the New River. Oh, man. The old Tip Top Lounge. It's funny, you go through any town in West Virginia, you'll see one of them small, individually owned little bar, restaurant type deals. Right here on the right used to be, so it says it's a fabrication place. I knew it used to be some kind of manufacturer. I don't know what they manufactured, but it was a busy thing when I was a kid too. I remember my stepdad bringing something over to have fixed. He needed some welding done. Maybe it was a trailer. I can't remember. He had a trailer, or we had a trailer and a welder. So a lot of times he would fix it himself, but I I remember he brought something over here, and I can't remember what it was. So there was a place somewhere right here in this curve that I've been fishing on that river. Remember I told you it was muskie fishing. There was a place, maybe the houses weren't here or something, or maybe my stepdad had permission, but we parked somewhere around here and walked over there to go fishing. Again, I don't remember. Maybe we just parked in one of these wide spots and walked over there. But we went over and fished, and it's the first time I'd ever seen a muskie, but we never caught one. It was, you know how they blow up on the water like catching bait fish? That's what it had done, is it had went after a bluegill or a bass or something, and we saw it roll over. So we saw its belly, but we never got it to bite anything that day. I'm hoping that changes today. I'm hoping to catch my first muskie today. So now we're going into the big town of Rupert. If you've watched any of my fishing videos, my trout fishing videos, typically this is where my trout fishing's done. When you go up here, you turn left up Angine Road, and that's Big Clear Creek, and that's where the trout's at. And I may end up there tomorrow after we're done catfishing and stuff this evening, as I may end up going up Big Clear. They stocked it the other day. I may take a look and see what the water levels look like. But up Angine, up that way, is where my Uncle Steve lives. And it's funny, so I call him Uncle Steve. He's not blood related whatsoever, but he's basically been like my uncle my whole life. So that's what I call him. I fish with him, I hunt with him. So right there, you turn a left there, it takes up Angine Road, and that's where Big Clear Creek is. So that's one of my fishing holes. I mean, it's pretty rough. It's about an hour-and-a-half drive from my house, and I'm sure there's fishing spots near my house closer, but I don't know them like I know this place. I've been fishing up here since I was a little kid. So we're almost to the end of this video. We're going through Rupert, then we'll get into Sam Black, and then I'll be getting on the interstate headed to Alderson. So we are really close. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. You know, you've listened to me talk for about 2 hours. Some of it you may have agreed with, some of it you may not agreed with, some of it you may have liked, some of it you may not have liked. If there's something you want to hear me talk about, we could get into West Virginia history. Funny story, if you are from West Virginia, you know in 8th grade you have to take a West Virginia history class. It's a requirement, and you have to learn, obviously, you know, things about West Virginia. Well, they have a contest called the Golden Horseshoe Contest, and so I was one of 3. I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that I was the best, because I don't know that that's the truth, but I know I was like top 3 or top 5 in my school in 8th grade, and I was supposed to go do the county Golden Horseshoe competition, whatever. Well, at the time, I had a girlfriend. I was in the 8th grade, she was in the 7th grade, and as an 8th grader, you know, your girlfriend's like your whole world. And I couldn't be bothered to study because I wanted to talk to her. So I ended up not even going to the competition. And then the next year, she ended up going, and I believe she won the thing. So, makes me wonder, was my priorities different than hers? And who was more important to who? Now, that's not fair, right? She was a very, very smart individual. Ended up going to college to be a lawyer, so I'm not knocking her. It's just a funny kind of knock on myself that she wanted to study and win that contest. And I was proud of her, obviously. Anyways, but yeah, if you wanted to get into like some West Virginia history, I can talk and tell you guys some West Virginia history. We can talk about whatever. So I need that input from you guys. So I know these first couple videos probably won't get a whole lot of views, probably won't get a whole lot of comments, but once we start getting comments and getting some feedback, whoa, there was a deer. I hope y'all saw that on camera. That thing, if he'd have stepped out, I'd have hit him. Anyways, once I get some feedback from you all, then we'll take it from there. If you want me to just shut up and play some background music, I'll do that. If you'd rather me have, you know, like I said, talk West Virginia history, we'll do that. Or if you want me to keep telling my stories, I've got plenty of them. All right, we're coming up on, I think this is called Crawley, or maybe I've already in it. May have already seen a sign. I was too busy watching for deer, and one almost stepped out in front of me. Odell's Mystery Market. I wonder what kind of mysteries they have in there. So somewhere right here on the left, there used to be a bait shop, because a buddy of mine, we went in there one day, bought some night crawlers, and he also bought a dozen of goldfish. It was somewhere right there on that road, because we went down to the Sandstone Falls, or Bluestone Dam. Somewhere down at Hinton. Now I can't even remember the name of it. I think it's Bluestone. For some reason, Sandstone and Bluestone is in, whatever. We went down there catfishing, and he wanted to use goldfish as bait. I don't think it's there anymore. That was, Lord, probably almost 20 years ago. Now we're getting to the far end of Greenbrier County, to like where it really starts opening up, where you like start seeing a lot of fields and stuff. Like once you get on the interstate headed towards Lewisburg, a lot of it's like this, just wide open pastures. Oh man. Now up here on the left, when they shut down Raynell Middle School. So Raynell Elementary School is still there, but Raynell Middle School got shut down. Maybe we already passed it. I know they moved all the kids over here to Eastern Greenbrier Middle School, or maybe junior high. Maybe it's called junior high. So like, I think the kids from Greenbrier East and the kids from Raynell, and maybe some of the other ones. Like there was another one called Crichton. Crichton was another little middle school, junior high around here. I think all of them got consolidated into Eastern Greenbrier. I think we've actually already passed it. But if you haven't been here in a really long time, you may not have known that. They've done a lot of consolidating schools in West Virginia. See, like here's where I'm talking about the pastures. I've always really liked this house on the, well, you can't see it. Just a little big farmhouse on the left, right in the middle of the field. You guys, we're coming up to the end of this video, because this is coming up on Sam Black Church. I'm going to pull in up here, turn the video off, put in the GPS coordinates to where I'm going, because I'm going to a friend's house that I've not been to. I've not seen him in years, so he did not live at this house last time I seen him. He lived at home with his parents last time I seen him. It's been 20 plus years. So we're going to pull in up here, and that's a video. If you guys have stuck in this long, I really, really do appreciate you guys. If you want to see more of this stuff, I need you to interact with the videos. So like, shares, comments, let me know, and we'll do more of it. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Board.